As the Omicron strain spreads like wildfire across the Northeast, something I know all too well because I caught it myself, the market's getting obliterated. I've been cautiously optimistic here, but this thing is incredibly contagious, although the symptoms don't seem so bad as long as you've gotten your 3 doses of the vaccine. That's why tonight we need a COVID checkup with Dr. Eric Topol, True North, the fantastic cardiologist turned founder and current EVP of Scripps Research, who's become our most trusted source in the pandemic. Dr. Topol, welcome back to Mad Money.
Great to be with you, Jim.
All right, Doc, you know, the first thing I did when I found out I contracted it was to direct message you. And what I'm most concerned about is that, can you help people understand that if they do get all 3 vaccinations, 2 plus the so-called booster, that perhaps if they do get Omicron, maybe even Delta, I'm not sure, but Omicron, they may actually just experience a mild cold that lasts for a day or 2.
Right. Well, with Delta, the 3 shots is at least 95% protective. Delta is not a challenge for a 3-shot vaccine. With Omicron, there's a lot of breakthroughs, 5-fold more than there were for Delta. But as you said, and as you've experienced, Jim, those breakthroughs can be quite mild. And most of them have been reported to be pretty mild so far. So that's the great news. It doesn't mean all of them are going to be mild. How have you been feeling?
Geez, thank you for asking. I know this is going to sound strange. It's something you and I go back and forth about. But the 3rd Moderna knocked me out far more than this illness has. The 3rd Moderna had me sleep for 24 straight hours. I had a terrible headache. I really couldn't lose it. Here I had a cough, a scratchy throat, but I would not known if I had anything unless I had not taken my my Abbott Binax now. Now, Dr. Topol, is that am I a rarity, or has that been the kind of norm?
No, that's actually pretty standard right now for these breakthroughs with Omicron. Almost invariably, we're not seeing the loss of smell and taste. There's now lab studies that show that Omicron can't get into lung cells nearly as well as Delta and prior variants. So these are some hints that this could be a milder illness, not just from our immunity, like you have with the 3 shots, but also something intrinsic to the virus. But when it gets to the point, Jim, when it's better to get an infection of the virus than it is to get the reaction to a booster shot, that's a good sign. We're not there yet, of course. There's still lots of uncertainties because we're going to see a really large numbers of new infections as we're seeing in other parts of the world. And a fraction of those are going to be not mild. They're going to be severe. And we just don't know what that fraction is yet.
Right. Well, one of the things that is worrisome to me is travel. And the theory here, why I'm concerned, is the reason I contact trace how I got it. I went to an event. Everybody had to be PCR negative, before the event. It turns out that there were people who were at my table who the next day tested positive. Had they been next to me on an airplane, they might have tested negative going on the plane. And then by the time they got to, let's say, to Spain or Italy, they might have come down with it. How do we control this thing if you're negative in the morning and positive in the afternoon?
Yeah, that's really a problem. And we're seeing that with Omicron. It picks up to infectiousness levels with the rapid test really fast. So if you do a screening, it needs to be, immediately before. And they're not perfect. The rapid tests are best when they're done in a serial manner. And then all of a sudden now you have a change in the reading. You're bringing up a real vulnerability. We can't fully rely on testing. And if we're going to use rapid tests, they got to be as close, proximal to the time in the event as possible. And that would include travel.
Right. Now, I got the New Jersey, the Department of Health called today. They call everybody. And they told my wife, who's more infected than I am, frankly, but they said, listen, this thing is 70 times more contagious than Delta. And I don't know where they came up with that number. But what that would say to me is, let's say you went to Madison Square Garden, 20,000 people, and a lot of people had Omicron. Is it possible to be like when I was growing up or when you were growing up, when one kid had measles and then by the end of the day we all had measles?
Yeah, well, first, it's not 70 times more because Delta is very contagious. But this virus takes advantage of not only the increased contagiousness, but this so-called immune escape, because, it just doesn't look enough like the prior versions of the virus. So when our immune system basically doesn't recognize it, and that's how it can spread so easily. That's really what's fueling a lot of this. But yes, the problem is you're in a room, you're in an indoor event, and it's going to spread. And this is a real problem. That's why we still need to use masks, better masks, high quality. We don't want to get these infections because it's a roll of the dice right now. If we knew that everybody was going to have a mild infection, that'd be great. But we don't know that at all. The spread is akin to these other viruses that are notorious for spreading so easily.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, because I had this wishful thinking, saying, oh my, if everybody had what I had, we would blow through this and the world would be a better place. And that's just some sort of Pollyanna gobbledygook, and I don't want to fall prey to that. Dr. Eric Topol, once again, you have been true north. I'm sorry if I made you my doctor after getting sick. You're such a good man. EVP of Scripps Research. Wow. I love it when you're on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm so glad you're doing well.
Thank you. Well, I am doing well, fortunately, because of people like Dr. Topol, who tell me not to worry and not to panic, but to be careful. Mad Money's back in.
Coming up, will 3 big breakups give a new face to pharma? Kramer explains what you can do to cash in on biotech's new look. Next. Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Kramer on Twitter. Have a question? Tweet Kramer. #MadTweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.